regret bringing anything up.
Hello there in internet land. This is episode 25 of the F1 Chat. It was the last race of the season. I am your host, Phil Lamington. To my left is a man who's commonly known as a pompous motherfucker. And that's JB. JB, how are ya?
It depends. It depends on the context. No, I'm good. Oh, good. Really,
That just got us straight into the not for kids.
Yeah.
YouTube.
Explicit rating.
Your mum's gonna go off her treacle.
straight up. No, I'm good. A bit of an end of an era feeling after this Grand Prix, but it was an alright race. Didn't mind it. Sad seeing Danny Boy go and Seb go. And it was good to see Seb and Daniel get points at the end, but yeah, I'm alright now.
Cool. And on my right is someone who does something. So that's Longhorn. How are you? I had nothing. I was just fishing.
It's the end of the season. He's gassed.
Certainly do something. Not sure, but something. Yeah, good. As JB said, bit of an end of an era race. I didn't find it very exciting or interesting to watch at all, but it was a somber race with what it was in terms of Vettel retiring, Danny Rick going, Mick Schumacher going, and it's just, yeah, it was one of those races you got to watch for that in a sense, but it wasn't exciting, the race itself.
But it was exciting for something, because for the last time this year, you've got the F2 report.
Oh, was there an F2 race this weekend?
There was. He's missed it.
He's missed it.
Aya Owasco won.
No, I'm only joking you. I do something. I do the F2 report.
Oh, he got us a zinger.
Oh, you pompous motherfucker.
He got us.
Push it to the
limit. All right, that's right. The F2, we do that on this podcast. It's just been a big break from that because for some reason they do all the races at the start and then they decide, let's not do it for 2 months and then one at the end.
Well, it is interesting to notice that they're bringing F2 and F3 to Melbourne next year.
They are, yes.
It's weird that F2 wouldn't go to a track like Interlagos. That seems like a good track to hone your skills.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but I think it's got to do more with the organisation of the event.
But they'll take it to a track like, Spa, which is a wee bit dangerous and a wee bit fast.
Has it got to do with travel costs?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. That's why they mainly base themselves in
but
Europe mostly.
They can afford to bring it out to Australia because of the salary cap,
Yeah.
Yeah, that works so well.
Alrighty, so I will make it really quick because it wasn't much really exciting going in F2.
There was an F2 race. Right, see you all later.
See you next year.
See you, bye. That was great. Thanks for coming.
I'm going to breeze past the sprint race because we had a sprint race. Wasn't very exciting whatsoever. Other than on lap 1, we had a crash between Enzo Fittipaldi and Jehan Daruvula. They both collided and sent them both into the shadow realm and ended their race, bringing out a red flag. And that was about it. After that, we resumed racing, and yeah, there was nothing exciting, so I'll just give you the top 3 from that one. Liam Lawson won that race, Richard Verschoor come second, and Felipe Drugovich came third.
Where did Logan Sargent come?
He came 6th, which he had to pick up this weekend, 2 super license points, and he had to not get any penalty points. So he came 6th in the sprint race, which gave him the 2 points he needed. And then, as we'll get to now in the main race, all he had to do was finish the race without, having a crash or doing anything silly, which he managed to do. So, yay, Logan Sargent's in F1 next year. But I've got to tell you, even just watching this race with him, he is not ready. I do not think he's ready for Formula 1 whatsoever. I don't know. The first half of the year, he did some stuff was getting excited about, and then his second half of the year just was not impressive to me whatsoever. Not like for me, I'd rather see him have a poor first half and a great second half going into F1. It's weird for me watching it the other way around.
Yeah,
it's like
you want him coming in with some momentum.
Yeah, and confidence and form, and he did not come in with that. And he felt like a kid that was rattled by the fact that Williams put him under, like they put him under immense pressure because he had to obviously get what he got this weekend to get in F1.
Yeah.
And they've already announced him as the driver.
Yeah.
And you could tell on his radio calls he was just rattled, like confidence-wise.
He's
and
just
I got to get, and it was just, it wasn't,
he was overcompensating. Like,
he was just having a go at his team.
Super cautious.
Yeah, like he was having a go at his team for stuff that it was just like, I don't know. It just felt like a guy that was so nervous to stuff up that he was sort of just, But anyway, he got his points and he's going to be in F1 next year. So well done to him. But now we get to the main race. Again, another eventful race. There really was not much going on track whatsoever. The only interesting thing that happened, which was actually a sad thing, was Jack Doohan, who was the only driver to go with an alternative strategy. He started on the mediums where everyone else started on the soft. That was the conventional strategy. Due to a high deck, that's why Doohan tried the reverse. And it was actually not looking too bad. He started the race in 7th, and with that strategy, he made his pit stop with 7 laps to go, and he was looking to come out to fight for the podium places. So it looked like it hadn't done too bad, except they changed his tyre and didn't put the front left on properly. And as he got out the pit lane, the tyre came flying off.
That sucks.
And ended his... I feel so sorry, because he's actually the one driver, other than Drugovich, that I thought showed a lot this year. Rookie year in Formula 2. Good form, good pace. Just got really unlucky. He had a lot of unlucky crashes that weren't his fault. I think this is the second time his team's not put a tyre on for him, I think. Or they've done something to his car and destroyed his race. Like, he's just gotten really unlucky despite his efforts. So I'm looking forward to seeing him next year, see if he can continue with that form and maybe even take the championship out and push for potentially an Alpine seat, depending on what's going on there.
Does he have Haas's pit crew as his pit crew?
Oh, gosh. Whoever he has, they mustn't like him for some reason. I don't know. But
the Steiner doesn't like him.
Yeah, they probably don't like that he's a good lad, more popular than them or something. So, anyway, so we'll get to the race results. And we had Oyuma Iwasa finish first. Felipe Drugovich finished second in a nice way to finish off the year, showing his championship quality. As we all know, he's the champion in F2 this year.
Yeah,
that was no secret. Rounding out the podiums, we had Liam Lawson in third. In fourth, we had Dennis Hauger. In fifth, we had Logan Sargent. In sixth, we have Juan Manuel Carrera. In seventh, we had Richard Verschoor. Eighth, Yuri Vips. Ninth, Marcus Armstrong. And 10th, Roy Nassani. And then just to quickly round out I'll give you the top 10 in the Formula 2 World Championship final standings. We have the winner, Felipe Drugovich, with 265 points. Teo Pourchaire, the Sauber Academy driver, in second with 164 points. That's sad for him because he actually had quite a poor finish to the year. Could have really fought for that championship. But
he really did.
Yeah.
And apparently he's on his way out of F2 as well.
Yeah, well, I think we've said it before. He told Sauber that if you're not putting me in, I'm leaving. And yeah, he didn't really put his hand up to go into Formula 1, and so I don't get it. It's a strange decision because he definitely hasn't done enough to get in. But in third, we had Liam Lawson, the young Kiwi, with 149 points. In fourth, Logan Sargent, with 148 points. Fifth, Ayumu Iwasa, 139 points. Sixth, Jack Doohan with 128 points. 7th, Jehan Daruvula with 126. 8th, Enzo Fittipaldi with 126. 9th, Frederick Vesti with 117 points. And 10th, Dennis Hauger with 115 points. And that wraps up the Formula 2 Championship for 2022.
I find it kind of ironic that the guy who won the F2 Championship, that was Felipe Drugovich.
Yes.
His best thing is now he is the reserve driver and test driver for Aston Martin.
That's the thing.
And yet Logan Sargent has got a seat at Williams.
On the grid, yeah. Look, compared to the previous years we've had with drivers coming out like, Charles, George, Lando, all those drivers. None of these guys really were screaming out like them.
Yeah.
But Dragovic was still the best of the rest, and in my opinion was the best of the rest by a fair bit. And what I mean by that is not only on pace, but just his drives were very mature, very like someone who had, you know, one of his big criticisms was he was in Formula 2 for 3 years, where, you know, the cliche is they like the drivers to come in and dominate instantly, you know, like Max Verstappen type, just come in and obliterate everyone. That's how you get to Formula 1. He didn't do that, but in my opinion, he obliterated everyone this year. Now, you could say that the grid wasn't very talented-wise, but there's still a lot of guys that are on driver academies here. I mean, Liam Lawson's AlphaTauri, his name comes up a lot. He's been in for a few years. As we said, Logan Sargent, I mean, he's Williams Academy. And, like as you just said, it's kind of sad that a guy like Logan Sargent finished 4th, so he didn't win it, and in my opinion, wasn't anywhere near impressive, gets a seat, and Felipe Drugovich, who did everything right, and showed the maturity that he's probably ready to take the step, doesn't. So I mean, that's the unfortunate politics of Formula 1, but I do find it a bit sad. And, you know, even as a Williams fan, I find it really disappointing that, you know, we've jumped on Sargent just for this, because he's American. In our academy, I guess. Yeah, like he's an academy and American. It's like, I'd rather see we want to see the top 20 guys. I want to see the best guys. And in my opinion, there's a few names that I'd way rather have than Sargent, even though he's our academy driver. Like, it's not that I dislike him. I just would rather it be there on merit and be there on ready to go into the seat, not just because you're there. You know?
Well, look, you got 3 races in America next year. Like, you need that brand name exposure.
Got to sell them, I guess. But
the other Williams Academy driver is Roy Nissany.
He's nowhere near ever getting a Formula 1 seat.
He's been there.
He's been there for a few years.
Yeah, he's been. I think he's been there as long as Teo Pourchaire.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been there a while.
I'd love to know where Teo Pourchaire's going to go.
Well, he still had 1 year left of eligibility for Formula 2, I think.
But he was pretty adamant that he's out.
Yeah, I don't know.
He was leaving regardless.
I don't know where he's going, because
he might go to IndyCar or go to Formula E. That might be his way of getting into F1 is, like, if I stay in F2, I've got no chance of being picked up because they'll just pick up whoever, whatever, whenever.
Yeah.
But if I go somewhere else, I can perfect my racecraft against the best. If I can get to IndyCar or get to Endurance or get to Formula E, I can race against better quality drivers and show how good I am. And then, much like I think Alex Albon.
Yep.
Or
he spent a year out. Are you talking about his year out of Formula 1 before he come back in?
Yeah.
He was a reserve driver, though, wasn't he, for Red Bull at that time?
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, no, there was a driver who went to Nick de Vries.
Yes, he was Formula E world champion.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, you know, he went to Formula E, made a name for himself there, and then everyone went, "Oh, Nick de Vries, we remember him.
Yeah.
Come on back over to Formula 1, mate."
As a reserve, and then, you make your way. Maybe that's the play, but what I don't understand with him was he's a Sauber Academy driver, and I think he's like the only one, or he's the highest rated one they have. If they've got any others, they're lower Formula 3 up-and-coming guys. But so he's their highest rated junior talent, and they're a team that, if I was him, I would have stayed another year, pushed on, and pushed for either the reserve seat in their team, or push G.I. Zhou out, you know, like wait for Zhou to have a bad year. I don't know. I still think Formula 2 is the pinnacle to get into Formula 1, but there are other ways, but I don't know.
But also, don't forget, I think that part of the thing that's factored into it is Audi buying Sauber. Correct. I think that's going to be a bit of a factor in it.
Yeah, because it's not like he can sit there now and wait for like Valtteri Bottas to be shown the door.
I don't
because by the time either of those two go, it's going to be 2024, and the Audi buyout's completed in 26.
Yeah,
and there's no
there's
no room for him to be an in-between driver.
I think they'll retain Valtteri, but I think Zhou Guanyu, because he was an Alpine Academy driver, I think Zhou Guanyu's the one who's living on borrowed time because of this.
Yeah, he definitely is. He's got the 1 year deal left, and I think it was because Pourchaire didn't quite show enough to push him out, in my opinion, and showed enough to stay. But Pourchaire didn't put his hand up. If Pourchaire, like halfway through the year, Pourchaire was challenging Drugovich. If he had gone on and pushed that to the end and won that, I think Sauber might have considered pushing him into the seat over Zhou.
I always considered T.A. Porsche to be one of the most talented drivers on the FT grid.
He is.
And it's just
He
a
is.
shame that he just doesn't show it consistently enough.
Yeah.
And he's going to be lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, he will.
But
Yeah.
I don't think he'd get into a Sauber seat because the main reason why Zhou Guan Yu got that Alfa Romeo seat over Oscar Piastri was because of the Chinese backing.
Yeah, money.
Yeah. As much as I hate it, money talks and bullshit walks.
That's Formula One.
That's my phone.
That is your phone. Look at you. Last race of the year, just not putting it on mute.
Yeah.
That's a paddling.
That's a bad one.
Pompous motherfucker.
I'm getting my tongue off.
Yeah, but it's there's so many drivers in F2 that a lot of people like Tomo from YouTube try and justify how good they are, but you sit there and go, well, if they're that good, why aren't they consistent? Why aren't they setting the world on fire?
This year's grid was like a bad NFL draft.
Yeah, it was.
Like just a class where there's no clear
what it
talent
was?
coming through.
You know what it is? It's a Queensland State of Origin team where all the good players are injured.
Yeah, but
That's
at
what it
least
is.
Queensland still win series with all their players injured.
Yeah, because then we pick decent players, not just names on market value. Cooper Cronk.
But no, it's just an average crop of talent. But they're not the first crop of F2 talent to be lost. Like, how long did it take for Robert Schwartzman to get back in? How long did it take Nick De Vries to get back in?
Robert Schwartzman's the reserve driver for Ferrari.
Yeah, but that took him 3 years. It took Nick De Vries 3 years since he left F2 to get back in.
It took Callum Eilert finally giving up and going to IndyCar.
Callum Eilert's gone. Like, we lost Callum Eilert.
Yeah. And
Callum
he was a good
Eilert
driver.
was Mick Schumacher's main rival in his championship season.
Yep.
And he's lost. He's not even getting a Formula 1 seat.
That's what also makes me a bit annoyed that Sargent gets in, because I just don't think he's got there on any merit whatsoever. When
he's got there on nationality.
He's got there on being in the right situation at the right time.
But he is, as you said, actually a reserve academy driver.
And that's why he's getting in. He's just.
Yeah.
But I guess what I don't like about it is there was better options for Williams. Like, why didn't they go for De Vries? Like, pick up the best driver available and let other teams have to push up their junior talent that no one's rating at the moment. Like, AlphaTauri was sitting there like, we've got Liam Lawson. He's not really... Like, he's the closest we've got. I guess if we're... De Vries? Oh, he's great. We'll have him. Bang, signed.
Yeah.
Like, it was all within a week. There was no hint whatsoever De Vries was ever going anywhere near the Red Bull program, AlphaTauri, nothing.
Yeah.
Puts in a great performance in a bloody Williams, of all places, and they were like, we got Logan Sargent, he's American. De Vries is gone. It's like, why didn't you sign the guy who just come in and obliterated one of your drivers?
Yeah.
Like... showed he's got maturity, he's got the pedigree, he's got everything we needed to go forward, and instead we're like, but we got this guy over here, he's coming fourth in a bad talent pool. Like,
yeah, I mean,
he's Americans, and Americans like Americans.
Yeah, right. Like,
by the time Nick De Vries finished that race in the Williams, they should have had a contract typed out and ready for his manager to read it.
Halfway through, they should have been typing it up. Like,
it should have been typed
How
out.
bad is F1 management?
Yeah.
How bad is it that you can't Alpine's botch the Piastri Alonso deal?
it's shocking.
Williams had a guy in their car scoring 2 points on debut, and you didn't even type a rough draft of a contract?
Yeah.
You
It's like,
didn't.
nah.
You didn't even have the thing that Alpine used with Piastri.
Yeah, you didn't even have the fake contract.
How do you not have a contract with, like, when Mercedes give you him to put in the car, how do you not have a contract that says, if we decide we'd like to sign him and yous aren't, we want first dibs?
Yeah.
He's coming in our car. Like, it should have been a given. Like, all right, you want him in our car? Sure, he can come in. Here's the deal, though. If you're not going to put him in your seat next year, we want
him.
first rights to choose if we want him.
Yeah.
And then when he comes in and puts on 2 points and puts on what he does, you go, bang, signed.
Him.
Done.
Yeah.
We've got Albon, De Vries, we're going forward. Instead, it's
How
like...
good is that?
Yeah,
How good
like,
is that as a
how
driver
much
lineup?
better does that seem going in?
Even if it's handwritten on a napkin with just a giant W at the top of it.
Yeah.
Like, that's a contract. There you go, right there.
And that's all they needed.
Yeah.
They didn't even get to that stage.
I mean, in free practice, I think Sargent had free practice in Abu Dhabi in the Williams.
Yeah.
Because they would keep trying to get enough. Like, the guy barely got enough super license points to get in.
Yeah.
He locked up the tyres and went off, like,
Yeah,
flat spotted all his tyres.
He locked up the rears into turn 1 and
I'm
just like
just-
almost sent it into the wall.
I'm like, this is the guy you've just gone, yes, he's the guy we need next
He's
year.
better than Nick DeFries,
Yeah,
apparently.
yeah, like, he's a rookie that's just got, he's going to struggle.
I
and he's not
mean,
going to.
here's a better question. You overlooked the possibility of signing Mick Schumacher
Yeah.
Yeah.
for this guy.
A guy with experience who's, like, in Formula 1 with more pedigree. He won F2, he won F3. It's just.
And he's had a season in Formula 1, which is more than Nick DeFries.
Exactly, he's had 2 seasons
Even.
in there.
Yeah.
And instead, we're still like, but we've got Logan Sargent. It's like, it's like the meme where it's like, can we have McDonald's? And Mum's like, no, we've got McDonald's at home.
It's like-
and it's like, it's Logan Sargent at home. It's like, oh,
Your
it's
McDonald's is like your Coles bit of meat and the bun that's got all the shitty seeds all over it. And you just go, this ain't McDonald's. That's Logan Sargent. This ain't McDonald's.
That's it.
I hate that I'm sort of shitting on the guy so much without actually seeing him in there, but I'm just going off what I've watched all year in F2 and going, the guy's just not ready. He's just not ready, and you're going to push
I
him
mean-
through.
He almost binned the car like 3 laps into his run.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah
He's
He's
got
binned it
man.
in F2 plenty of times. He's only finished 4th. He hasn't looked confident.
They could have signed Nico Hulkenberg.
Honestly, I would have preferred that. How bad's that? I would have preferred that.
Jesus
man.
Christ, they could have signed me.
There's I would have taken the 3 guys ahead of Sargent on the championship in F2. I would have taken over him.
Yeah.
I would have, and I don't think 2 of those were ready. I would have taken Djokovic in a heartbeat over them. At least he's got a shot to make something, because in my opinion he was ready. I would have taken Lawson. At least he's had more free practice sessions. He's been in the academy. He's been up and around there. Hasn't been
He's
enough.
been
to,
on the cusp for a while.
yeah, hasn't done
Yeah.
enough to push into AlphaTauri, which we all know. But he's been around there. But somehow it's like Logan Williams has. He's shown us enough to get into Formula 1. It's like,
Yeah.
oh,
You know what? You know what would have been a really good bargaining chip for Williams is try and lowball Teo Porcher.
Yeah,
because
we know he's got talent. He
was-
does have talent.
he
I
does.
reckon this year he just went, I'm stuck here. I'm not going to get to F1. I'm just here because I'm
just trying to see out my contract.
It's something to do on a Sunday. And I reckon if Williams had slid a contract in front of him and said, come and do a few laps in our car, see how you feel, he would have picked up in F2 this year, because he would have gone, right, I've got something to drive for now. I've got something outside of this. And I reckon he would have outdriven the fucking car, and it would have been a completely different result for him.
100%. And I mean, the fact that, I don't know if Williams putting Sargent under pressure like they did by announcing him early, I don't know if that was a test to see how he handled pressure. But all I can say is he didn't really handle it great.
Yeah, if that was a test, and he's
Yeah.
failed the test.
Yeah, but it's too late.
I
You've
mean-
announced him in your team.
Yeah. You announced him before he even had his super license points ready to go.
Yeah, the amount of pressure you put him under. And okay, if you're trying to test him, because look, it's going to be even more pressure in Formula 1 than anything he's faced in F2 and whatever else, where it's
Yeah.
the guy was yelling and screaming at his team, and it's all the guy had to do was finish the race. He wasn't under pressure to win, or he had to finish the race. Okay, he was under pressure to do that, but he was yelling at his team, and I'm I just don't like that.
Well, here's a really good question. I mean, let's assume next year the Williams is at the back of the grid still. I don't want that to happen, but let's assume that. How's he going to handle that? He's not going to handle that well.
Well, the reason they're going to be at the bottom next year, if other than car development, will be because he's in the team. He's a rookie, so rookies were going to struggle, no matter their talent. They're going to struggle. But I just don't even think he's got the talent to be there. So you combine the two, and I'm you're going to put him in. He's going to be like Latifi. He might be quicker, but he'll still be at the back.
Okay, but here's a question. Which driver would you prefer? Logan Sargent or Latifi?
Oh, okay, I'd take Sargent. I'd take the postman over Latifi at this point. Did you see him in this race?
Latifi?
Yeah, how far behind he was. I just don't understand how he gets back there.
I don't even think he finished the race, did he?
No, he didn't in the end. But
Well,
he had a collision.
Yeah,
which,
he had a collision with Mick Schumacher.
to
and
be
they-
fair, wasn't his fault. But on the replay, they were like, "Oh, it's Mick's fault." But Latifi was going really slow into
He
that
did
corner. Then.
brake
And
early.
He did. He was just so
It's
slow.
almost like he forgot to put his glasses on. He was short-sighted. Like, oh shit, have I missed the breaking point?
It's
I
probably
can't
like
really
Japan where he turned off in the wrong spot.
Oh.
He's probably trying to. Oh, do I turn? Is this where I go? Or?
You know what it is? Latifi's got Alzheimer's.
Maybe
That's what it is.
maybe from that crash in Abu Dhabi last year. Oh, that's a bit.
Yeah.
I got to
Maybe.
say this before we get into the F1 report. Boy, oh boy, did Sky Sports make a real fucking spectacle out of last year's one
did they?
again
I
this
know.
year.
Let it go.
It's
Move on.
over.
Move on.
He's won the championship. And friggin' Martin Brundle sitting there go, well, you know, he should have let all the car, it should have finished under a safety car, yada, yada, yada. And then he turns around and he goes, but then last race, they brought the safety car in and there was still a car that
Sonoda couldn't unlap
Yeah,
himself.
Sonoda was stuck in the middle.
Yeah. So the same issue. Like,
So it's not the system's fault.
no, it's not Michael Massey's fault. It's the freaking rules, like the way they write them, and you put you put these guys under pressure. And I mean, last year he was under even more pressure because the team principals was yelling at him over the.
That's one thing I will give Martin Brundle. He did bring up, like, Massey had both team principals yelling in his ear about what he wanted,
Yeah.
what they wanted,
While trying to make a decision.
while trying to make a decision. And, yeah, how can you make a decision when you've got two strong-willed team principals sitting there saying, well, we want this, but the rules say this, but the rules also say this.
and we've also all agreed.
We've all agreed
In
to
principle,
this.
we want this. Like, exactly right. Exactly
It's
right.
just utter chaos. But I don't think Sky Sports, we really needed to relive 12 months ago where your boy got beaten fair and bloody square.
But as soon as the video highlights of that last lap comes up from whatever the day was last year, it will be on the F1 Chat Facebook page.
Hell yeah.
Front and centre for me to relive it.
I'll be punching pillows in my lounge room at 1 o'clock in the morning, not trying to wake the baby again.
It's like, but we will show that last lap
Yes.
as many times
Oh.
as it takes.
We should just create a page called that last lap in Abu Dhabi every day.
Every day.
Just post it every
The
day.
same video every day.
I might actually make a video where it's like the weirdest moments in F1 or something, and like have a clip of something, and then that clip, and then like a clip of Senna and Prost crashing again, and then that clip. I just bookend every clip with that clip.
Just on repeat.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
yes, that's the F2 report.
That's the F2 report, the final F2 report for 2022. Thank you for doing that this year, Longhorn.
You're welcome.
Well done, buddy. Well done.
Now we got the final F1 report for the year. Take it away, JB.
All right, guys. The final race of the year, 2022 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
Cool. Thank you, everyone.
Under,
See you all next year.
under the lights of the Yas Marina circuit.
$2.99.
$2.99.
Push to
The limit.
Lap 1. Max Verstappen starts on pole position alongside Red Bull teammate Sergio Perez. Max beats Sergio off the line despite Sergio's stronger start. Leclerc tries a dive under Perez but gets squeezed out. Carlos Sainz jams Lewis Hamilton wide and over the sausage curb. At the same corner, Lewis took an advantage last season. Lap 2, Daniel Ricciardo picks off Mick Schumacher after losing a spot on the first lap. Lap 4, Lewis Hamilton is told to cede the position back to Carlos Sainz after taking the position off the track, unlike 2021. Lap 5, Lewis Hamilton sweeps past Carlos Sainz into 4th on sheer pace the following lap. Lap 8, Carlos Sainz gets past Lewis Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel and Esteban Ocon have a good scrap over 8th place. Lap 11, Mercedes say Lewis Hamilton's car is okay and damage-free after going over the curb despite dropping behind teammate George Russell and beginning to lose touch with the pack. Lap 13, Lewis Hamilton says something is wrong with his Mercedes after overshooting turn 1 for the second time in the race. Lap 15, Esteban Ocon and Yuki Tsunoda and Pierre Gasly all pit for hard tyres. Lap 16, Sergio Perez, George Russell and Lando Norris also box for hard tyres. George Russell is held for 5 seconds and then is sent out into the path of Lando Norris with a potential penalty looming. Lap 18, Carlos Sainz pits for hards and gets out ahead of George Russell, who was busy getting past Daniel Ricciardo. Lap 19, Carlos Sainz gets past Alonso for 5th and then Seb Vettel for 4th. Lap 20, Max Verstappen pits for hard tyres and gets out ahead of Sergio Perez. Lap 21, George Russell is handed a 5-second time penalty for an unsafe release. Charles Leclerc pits from the lead of the race for hard tyres, falling behind the Red Bull pairing. Lap 25, Fernando Alonso is on a charge, taking 3 places in 2 laps. Lando Norris gets past Sebastian Vettel for 7th place. Lap 26, Sebastian Vettel finally pits for a set of hard tyres, trying to make a one-stopper work. Lap 28, Fernando Alonso's Alpine career ends in retirement with a water leak. His car is pushed into the garage. Lap 34, Sergio Perez stops for a second time for another set of hard tyres. Lap 38, Sergio Perez is told to chase Charles Leclerc on track, needing to make up 18 seconds and pass 4 cars. Lap 39, Mick Schumacher and Nicholas Latifi collide down at turn 5. Carlos Sainz and George Russell take their pit stops, Russell serving his penalty in the process. Lap 42, Mick Schumacher is handed a 5-second time penalty in his final race for Haas after hitting Nicholas Latifi. Lap 45, Sergio Perez passes Lewis Hamilton but locks up and loses the place back. Lap 46, Sergio Perez gets past Lewis Hamilton down the back straight. Lap 47, Max Verstappen says his hard tyres are fine after 27 laps on them and tells Red Bull to let Sergio know to send it and he'll be fine. Lap 49, Lance Stroll drops teammate Sebastian Vettel out of the points and begins to chase down Daniel Ricciardo. Lap 55, Lewis Hamilton's Mercedes gearbox fails down the back straight. Carlos Sainz passes him for 4th, and Lewis retires from the Grand Prix, ending his streak of winning a race in every season he has driven in.
Woohoo!
Lap 58, Max Verstappen wins the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, the 15th of the season. Charles Leclerc finishes 2nd in the race and in the championship, with Sergio Perez coming home a close 3rd. Lando Norris gets the fastest lap, and Sebastian Vettel gets driver of the day.
And Carlos Sainz came 4th for Ferrari. George Russell came 5th for Mercedes AMG. Lando Norris came 6th for McLaren. Esteban Ocon came 7th for Alpine. 8th was Lance Stroll in the Aston Martin. 9th was Daniel Ricciardo in the McLaren. And 10th was Sebastian Vettel. So, the race, much like Mexico, I thought it was a race of 2 races.
2 halves.
2 halves. It was 2 races, 2 halves. You know what I'm saying. It really picked up towards the end when it was Perez hunting down Leclerc.
Yeah.
For me, that kept me awake for the rest of the race.
Yeah, Sergio chasing down Charles Leclerc, and then, Daniel Ricciardo's coming back through the field for his last one with McLaren. Sebastian Vettel's trying to hold in the top 10 for a point in his last race. Then Lewis Hamilton's Mercedes dies. That was awesome. Fernando Alonso retired.
That was awesome.
That was also awesome. There were people genuinely upset that Fernando Alonso couldn't do donuts in the end. I'm like, he's not leaving the sport. He's going to Aston Martin, you dickhead.
Yeah.
Like, get off his dick.
I know. Why does
everyone just love Fernando?
It's made me, almost like him less because everyone loves him so much for no kind,
I don't. And it's not even he's a nice guy. He's a fucking asshole.
Yeah, exactly. I get it. He's a great driver, and he still is. He's still driving well, but I still don't care. He's still an asshole, and everyone praises him for it. It's like, if anyone else did what Fernando Alonso does with teams, they would hate him.
Yeah.
They'd be like, he's a shit teammate. He's shit this. He's shit that. It's
look how hated Sebastian Vettel was until he left Red Bull and went to Ferrari.
Yeah, he changed himself.
Every Australian hated him because of Multi 21.
Yep, I hated Seb Vettel for a long time.
And then he went to Ferrari. He's like...
And let's be real, Seb Vettel was a dick for the first, he had to be a world champion
he
in a
was
way.
Pampered, though. He was very pampered.
Let me throw this to you, because we saw that same thing last race with Verstappen.
Yep.
I don't think it was Dietrich Mateschitz, because he's passed away, but for the point of argument, I don't think it's Christian Horner. I think it's Helmut Marko that's breeding this in Red Bull.
100% it is. 100%. I
Christian
agree with you.
Horner wants the team to do well.
Yep.
Helmut Marko is an asshole.
He is.
Yeah,
and he calls
actually-
out drivers he doesn't think
Yeah.
are doing well. And, he doesn't have a lot of praise for anyone unless they're, like, doing Max Verstappen.
Everyone who's been kicked out of Red Bull says the same thing about Helmut Marko. He's a fucking dick.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't come in and if you're not Max Verstappen from day one, he doesn't want a bar of you.
Yeah.
Mark Webber said it.
Yep.
Kvyat said it. I'm sure Albon said it in a nice way because he's a
Gasly's
nice guy.
probably saying it.
I'm pretty sure Gasly said it. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. That's what I was saying last race. I was like, I feel like this is what Red Bull breeds, but I think you've nailed it down even better to probably what it is. It's more Helmut Marko, because I agree. I don't think it was Dietrich. I don't think Christian Horner breeds that. I think Christian Horner just wants the team to do well.
Christian Horner's been playing peacemaker. It's just
Yeah.
you know.
Agreed. Yeah, I think it's Helmut Marko, 100%.
It's also worth mentioning that Mick Schumacher beat Kevin Magnussen by 13 seconds.
That's good.
And when you were going through your report, you said that Mick Schumacher spun Latifi.
Mick Schumacher did spin the TV and was given a penalty for it.
He got a 5-second penalty. I think he should have been given a 5-second boost.
100%.
Nicholas Latifi retired from that too. I didn't say that, but yeah,
See,
I'm pretty sure he retired from that contest.
That should have gotten a round of applause.
It was-
like a standing ovation from the crowd.
It was sad to not see Latifi do burnouts at the end. Let's all be real.
Oh,
That's what we all
no.
missed. I shed a little tear, actually.
That Williams wouldn't have made it to do a burnout. It would have tried
would've-
to do a burnout, just got...
Latifi
like
would have
my-
crashed it into the wall if he was doing it. That's what he would have
He would
done.
have smashed his mirrors into something.
I think my favourite part of irony for the whole race was Lewis Hamilton was actually told by the FIA to give the position back at the same corner Max shoved him off last year.
Yeah, because he did that, and Carlos got on the blower and said he's done the same thing as last year.
Yeah.
He did the same thing to Max last year.
Yeah, except this time the FIA told him to legitimately give the place back. Actually, no, I don't think he did. I think his team told him to give the place back.
Yeah, no. What happened? So the FIA or the race director, it's not Eduardo Fuentes, it's the other guy because
Carter Barone's gone home.
Yeah, Carter Verone's
Something
gone.
Widditch, isn't it?
Yeah.
Niels Widditch.
Niels Wittich.
Quidditch.
Oh, Niels Quidditch.
Oh, Niels Quidditch. He said at the last race that he was going to adopt. He didn't say these words, but it was something more closer to what V8 Supercars does, which was, if you cut the corner and gain an advantage, it's up to you to hand it back. If you don't, then you'll get a penalty.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool.
But in this one, he was right on it. There was no decisions made after the race. He got on to everything as soon as possible.
Yeah, there were no decisions decided after the race. Everything was done.
And
During the race.
Mercedes did tell Lewis to hand the position back, but I think he already got on the blower to Mercedes and said, look, tell him to hand the position back. And
Actually,
hand it back over,
no.
or there'll be a penalty.
Lewis gave the spot back, and then it came up on the screen afterwards that there was no further action needed.
But
Yeah.
it did come up and say they were investigating an incident between the two.
Yeah.
And they did say that the incident they were investigating was pushing Hamilton off the track. So they were saying
Ah.
at first, they were like,
Yeah.
surely they're not going to give Sainz a penalty
Yeah,
here.
no, they invested two parts of it.
Right.
The first part was Sainz pushing him off the track. And there was no further investigation needed. And then before the other one, like it came up with, they were investigating Lewis Hamilton gaining an advantage.
Okay. I
And
misunderstood
before
that.
they could come up with a result for that, Bono got on the radio and said, Lewis, give the position back.
Good. That's how it should be.
And then once he did that, it came up no further investigation.
Cool.
Right.
Sounds like the proper process we're all probably happy with.
Yeah.
They just needed...
Don't talk about
Follow
proper
that.
process in Abu Dhabi 21. You'll open the can of worms.
Oh, bloody hell. But, yeah, it heated up towards the end. It was a bit ho-hum in places, but
There was enough interest. I mean, watching.
it was better than Miami.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was...
It was better than Monaco.
Yeah.
No.
It was better than Mexico.
Yeah, so to me, to be honest, it was still in probably the bottom 5 of races of the year.
Yeah,
Like,
but that's because it's a shit track.
yeah, I don't think this track promotes a lot of...
It doesn't promote anything other
Yeah.
than Abu Dhabi.
The problem is,
Other than this, yeah, 100%.
being the end of the year as well, these guys are going around with like worn out gearboxes, worn out engines.
And the
ERS
championship's done.
ERS batteries are like, on the fritz. Like Lewis Hamilton's gearbox died.
Yeah, but that's just Lewis Hamilton.
But I mean, that's the first mechanical DNF of the year for Mercedes, like
Yeah,
of
no.
the year.
Yeah.
And 2 laps away from finishing the year with none of it, so they did
Yeah.
pretty bloody well.
Like,
This track, though, I think maybe that's one thing I might like it a little bit more if it wasn't the end track of the year. I would
Yeah.
prefer Interlagos to end.
Oh, yes.
That would be so much
absolutely.
better to end on.
Or
than
Adelaide.
Just
Adelaide.
end on a better, more
Not going back to
iconic
Adelaide.
track, Push this to... Make this the start of the year and get rid of Bahrain.
you can put Abu Dhabi after Jeddah.
Yeah.
You can
yeah,
have
that's it.
Bahrain, Jeddah,
Bahrain,
and
Bahrain, Jeddah, this. Get
Yeah.
the Saudi Arabian countries out of the way where
And
the
then-
points actually matter and the championship matters.
100%. Because,
Yeah.
like you said, this to me, I found this quite boring because the championship's been wrapped up for so long. There wasn't really... The only half interesting thing was, would Leclerc or Perez get second?
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, when I'm tuning in for that and the race is also boring, it can be a bit of a yawn fest. Where, like, to be honest, you could just watch the highlights of this race and the end. Just watch the end to see everyone farewell Seb and all of that. But
It's kind of like watching Scarface, the short version.
yes.
yes.
It really is.
Yes.
But my key drivers for the day. Now, I didn't put Verstappen in there because he just scooted off into the distance.
He just puts his classical music on and goes for
Yeah,
a race. Just
yeah.
Another
But
level.
my first key driver was Charles Leclerc.
Yeah, he
I
was good.
thought he drove a really good race. He managed his tyres really well. I just thought he drove really well.
He did.
You did.
He did. And he needed to after
And
Ferrari's
that-
second
And he
half of the year.
did what he had to do. He finished second so he could get second in the championship.
Yep. My next key driver was Sergio Perez. Again, drove a really great race. And
He had a good weekend, but he just, I think the gap was only about 1.5 seconds at the end too.
Yeah.
Showing how close it was between the two of them.
Yeah. My next key driver was Daniel Ricciardo.
Got points.
I think he,
He
drove really
had to
well.
climb back twice. After his pit stop, he was like 18th.
Yeah.
And he climbed all the way back through the field to 9th. It was a good way to say goodbye.
You know what it was? It was a good way. It was a nice little thing to type on his resume.
Yeah.
He's going to take a year off, but it's a nice little thing to put at the bottom of the resume.
That's
like
a good
I did-
full start. Like, that was your last performance in an F1 car. So I was like, I've still got it at this point. I've still got it.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
better than if he had finished like he did last week.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have been a great... Yeah. But
Yeah.
And then my final key driver, it couldn't be anyone else. Sebastian Vettel.
Absolutely.
He drove
Dunker,
really
Seb.
well.
He drove the wheels off that thing all weekend.
He did.
He
He drove like a man that knew it was his last go and he was going to
You know
go
what?
full beans.
he drove like Sebastian Vettel.
100%. I was watching this race, and all I could think the whole time, I was like, gosh, I tell you what, Vettel was still showing to me he's a top 5 driver in this. He's up there. If you put him in one of the best cars, he would fight for
And
the,
you know what? Because apparently, he is done. I'd like to see him be race director.
I'd love to see him still be a part of Formula 1 somehow.
I don't know. I don't know. We'll see him around. Not
for a
straight
while.
away.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, if
Give him
it-
2 or 3
if-
years away.
if
from
they
the
offered
F1
him
paddock.
race director, I wouldn't say no to him at all.
No, he'd be a great race director.
He
but,
would make decisions, bang, on the spot. Boom, that's that.
but you won't see him around an F1 paddock for another 2 years, man. He's
No.
going to step away and he's going to clear his head. And
Take some time
Unless
to
he
assemble.
becomes a Sky Sports commentator and replaces Nico Rosberg. That would be happy.
I'd happily watch him and his yacht in the Mediterranean in his socks.
I
Yeah.
don't think he's got a yacht, mate.
Probably not, but
no, he's
He's
a
got
little
a
bit
nice
too
little
eco-friendly
cottage.
for that.
yeah.
He's got a nice little cottage.
Yeah.
It's
A
made
kayak. He'll be on a kayak on a
it's
river
made of
somewhere.
paper mache and recycled plastics.
Hanging out with Mick Schumacher because he only lives down the road from him.
Yeah, well, hopefully Mick Schumacher is gonna. I wonder what he's gonna do next year.
Mick Schumacher.
Yeah.
I'll get to him in a sec.
Just quickly as well, just jump back a little bit to Sergio Perez Leclerc. Do you think, because he pitted twice and Leclerc only pitted the once,
Yes.
and so
Yeah.
did Verstappen. Most
Yeah.
people ended up, they were looking like a 2-stopper, they ended up just staying to the 1.
There
You
was a
think
lap.
Perez-
There was a lap where Sergio got held behind I think it was one of the Astons, and he got held. He almost had him, and then he got held up. And as soon as that happened, I'm like, that's the lap that's going to cost him, and it did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one lap where he got stuck behind someone for longer than he should have, because the gap was 1.5 seconds. Like the call was right.
You reckon he should? Because
Yeah.
what I was
The
going to
call
say
was-
is,
the
do you
call
think he
was
should have just
absolutely right.
stayed on the one stop
No.
and he would have got it? No, you think McClure would have got him?
No, the call was right. The call was right. You saw how much both on hard tyres too.
Yeah.
It's not like he was on the mediums.
No.
Like at the end, you just saw how much more pace he had.
Yeah.
I do believe that was his only chance of getting Leclerc. It was you just need to take the 30-second hit.
Yeah.
Mid-race, you've still got 20 laps to do something about it. And then
Yeah, right.
Max was on the radio, and he's like, "I've been on my hard tyres for 27 laps. They're fine. Tell Sergio that he's not going to run into any deg problems."
But that's why
Just send it.
that's why I'm questioning if he could have just stayed on the one stop and sent it like Max did. Would he have held second place?
Knowing that you've
No.
got a fresh set of boots on gives you more confidence too. I don't know if
Yeah.
you're going to send it. You're not going to send it on 27-lap old tyres the way you're going to send it on 10-lap old tyres.
No, but Sergio's good on his tyres. That's one thing quality he has as a driver.
You could probably make that argument, but
Yeah.
I think the right call was made. I think, and Sergio showed he had the pace, and had he got around, I'm sure it was an Aston Martin, cleanly.
I think if they'd brought him in a lap earlier, he might have cleared those cars earlier.
Nah, he was in right on the bubble. They
Yeah.
said, look,
That's one thing I think they buggered with Seb, unfortunately, was I think they kept him out just that little bit too long.
Yeah,
on the
he
mediums.
was upping them over the radio.
Yeah, he did
Yeah.
really well. He extended him, and I think they did about 2 laps too long. If they had brought him in 2 laps earlier, maybe there was something about where he would have come out then or something that they stopped. But
in spite of that last lap, he was going wheel to wheel with Daniel Ricciardo.
yeah, he was chasing him
Yeah.
down.
But, like, his tyres were shagged, but so was Daniel. Daniel one-stopped as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, but they...
Well, a lot of drivers ended up just one stopping because
yeah.
Seb was the one from the start going on the one stop. They recognised it early, but then as the race progressed, everyone started going, "Well, hang on, we'd rather just see this out
Yeah.
than take the extra stop." Which, unfortunately, I think Seb might have been a bit further up the grid if a lot of other cars did take that 2 stop. But
Yeah, Daniel
Yeah.
really... They get to a point and then they'd really fall off the one-stoppers.
yeah,
Like, they'd get their way back up sort of in the pack, but then they wouldn't go any further because they sort of reached the
They
limit
hit
of
the cliff.
Yeah, they'd hit the cliff of the tyre.
yeah.
And you just sort of got to nurse everything home from there.
Right, moving along. News items. The first news item announced a couple of days before the first day of practice is that Mick Schumacher is leaving Haas.
Unlucky.
We saw it coming for
Yeah,
a long time.
Would you like to know where he's going?
I would like to know where he's going.
So the rumour is he is going to be the reserve driver at Mercedes.
ooh,
That
I like
big?
it. I like it.
So
It keeps him around.
it keeps him around. He's in a top team.
Yeah.
Get a bit of equity.
Bit of money keeps him in Formula One. Who knows what happens with Hamilton over the next few years?
Hamilton reckons he's going to sign another 2-year contract.
Yeah, that's probably fair. I think
But-
Hamilton can give another 2 years before he makes another decision.
I reckon if Mick Schumacher stays in the good graces of Mercedes, when Alonso finally fucks off, they'll try and put him in that Aston Martin.
Depends on how far Dragovic comes. Who knows? In a few years, they might want to bring their
Or-
driver up.
Or if Logan Sargent doesn't pan out.
Oh, he definitely won't pan out, I think.
So he'll
Unfortunately, I think Sargent might be a 1 year and done situation.
one and done, yeah.
I don't know. I just don't have a lot of faith in it, in the decision. But
So, which then means that Nico Hulkenberg is replacing him at Haas.
Did you see the the post-race thing with him and Ted Kravitz?
No.
Like, walks up to him. Ted Kravitz's like, "Oh, hey, Nico." And then Nico's like, "I thought you didn't like me." And he's like, "When did I say that?" And he's like, "I just got this thing that you just didn't like me. And you try to avoid me all the time and stuff." It was just like this super awkward, like, moment. And Ted Kravitz is trying to kiss us to, like, please don't make this awkward. and then he just walks off. And I'm like, what was that about?
Yeah, but Hulkenberg is just awkward as a person.
yeah.
Like, I mean, was it K-Mag that told him to suck his balls?
Yeah. I was going to say they showed that during this race weekend, they were talking to K-Mag about Nico having his new teammate, and they were talking about, and they showed that clip, and gosh, that gave me a smile just watching K-Mag to tell him to suck his balls.
Suck my balls.
Like, Nico walked over full like, I'm going to show him, and K-Mag was just like, suck my balls. It was just like, yeah, that really works, Nico. Like, yeah, I think you were the one who got shown up there, so it was like, oh gosh, it'll be interesting to see how they go as a pairing now.
They're either going to love each other or hate each other. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's
Might be the only entertainment we get next year with these two. Just the infighting.
To be fair, though, they might be so over that because they're at points in their career where it's like they know. Like, surely Nico knows what he is. He's just
Wait until they trade paint.
yeah, true.
They'll
could
trade
happen at some
paint.
point.
They will trade paint.
Let's be real. They're
it'll
just they're two seat warmers, man.
They are. That's right. And I think they kind of know that, or I hope they do.
I think he knows it. I think Hulkenberg knows it.
Hulkenberg knows it.
K-Mag-
K-Mag still thinks he's something.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be real. He was on pole in Bricks Hill.
I think K-Mag.
Yeah, because George Russell crashed it, red flagged it.
Doesn't matter. He was on pole
He
in
was
Brazil.
there. He had to be there.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
Yeah. That's it.
There's your
That would further feed into K-Mag's thing that
Fast and Furious reference there.
bring on number 10.
Oh,
Two-part
God.
movie. Two-part movie.
Oh,
number 10.
can we just make it no part?
Yeah.
Nah. It's a two-part
It's-
movie.
It's got to go back to
Street racing.
street racing.
Yeah.
I hope the
Stop
final,
saving the world.
I hope the final scene of that whole movie is a Supra versus a Charger. The old ones, the original ones.
Yeah, well.
That would be cool. Anyway, we're off topic. I mean, we're not because it's the F1 chat, and welcome to Fast and
All we do
Furious.
is off topic.
Yeah,
There's going to be some interesting
He's going to
driving.
take his cutter back.
Yeah. It's all good. We own the boatyard.
Yeah. It's a rat, a bucket, and a blowtorch coming for you if you don't like it.
There's going to be some interesting driver pairings next year. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of interesting, the next news story has to do with Daniel Ricciardo and Red Bull. Apparently, Daniel Ricciardo has signed a contract because Helmut Marko was blathering on about it before the race, before Daniel Ricciardo had signed it. But apparently he signed it after the race that Daniel Ricciardo is a reserve driver for Red Bull next year.
That's big.
Good for him. Good for him.
And, like I said last week, if there's still issues between Max and Sergio, or if Sergio falls out of favour with Helmut, despite the fact that Sergio is signed until 2024, Ricciardo's going to get that seat.
I think this is definitely the start of Perez falling out. And one reason I say that is just something we haven't talked about, but the rumour is that Checo crashed on purpose on Monaco. That's sort of the rumour.
Oh, because that blithering idiot Aldas said it.
Yeah, but
He's a blithering idiot, that guy.
yeah, but he showed two reasons as to he showed me why it wasn't, and it was, if that makes sense, when I watched that video. But it's like, if he did do that on purpose, that could be, I don't know. It could be a way. Yeah, Daniel Ricciardo could definitely push his way into that team. We're seeing the cracks between the driver pairing, and we know Daniel and Max get along really, really well. So,
But
yeah.
I don't know, do they?
Yeah.
Max was the reason Daniel left Red Bull in the first place.
Yeah, but I don't think it's from them not getting along. I think it was more from Red Bull just favouring Max.
Yeah, well,
I think Daniel didn't like being like. I think Daniel, as much as we love him, I think he's got a little bit of an ego of wanting to be like the number one driver, and he's seen at Red Bull he wasn't that. You think of everywhere else he's gone to be the number one.
But then he's gone to other teams and he's been in cars that either didn't suit his style or he couldn't trust. You know, the McLaren didn't suit his style.
Yeah.
And he couldn't trust the Renault.
yeah, he really could.
He couldn't trust the brakes on the Renault, to be specific.
Towards the end, though, he was doing all right in that Renault.
Yeah, but he couldn't send it like he did with the Red Bull.
Yeah.
He just didn't have that trust with either car. What? Pardon me. So, him going to Red Bull, even as a reserve driver, that's them putting a bit of fire underneath Sergio Perez. I think that's the wrong thing to do, is putting fire under Sergio. Sergio knows he's a number two. You know, this screams, I'll say it again, This is Helmut Marko and his bloody games. That's what this is. This is Helmut Marko.
I don't think so, because I think everyone in Red Bull wanted Daniel back.
Oh, yeah. But Helmut Marko is the one that breeds all the contempt in the team. It's kind of like Aldas breeds contempt on YouTube because he's such a bloody Lewis Hamilton mark.
Tell us how you really feel.
I will. He made these videos where he's like the rise and fall and fall and fall of Ferrari. Formula One's not over, Aldas, you dumb prick.
Gosh, he really got to you, didn't he?
Oh, just
Poking the bear.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. It's like talking to Johnny about McLaren when they do bad.
Every video he did was, isn't how great is Lewis Hamilton? Lewis Hamilton is amazing. Lewis Hamilton, lets me bust a nut in his mouth.
Aldas likes watching Lewis Hamilton lapping around in 15th place like Sky Sports does.
Yeah. And then he did this video about how Ferrari will never be world champion again. It's just like, it's not, like, Formula One's not done. It's not,
meanwhile,
it's
Mercedes
not like neighbours.
Meanwhile, Mercedes finished behind Ferrari this year, so...
Yeah.
And Lewis Hamilton retired from Abu Dhabi.
Actually, I might go to Aldas's channel and just go, what have you got to say about this, you dumbass? God, that
Do
guy
it from the F1 chats page, though. We'll start a proxy war with him. Let's go.
Gosh.
Screw it. It's time to make our mark, gentlemen.
Oh, I regret bringing anything
We've been
up.
here.
Oh, he's just a
We've been here 2 seasons. It's time for us to Max Verstappen this shit. Get our elbows out.
Suck my balls.
Rubbin's racing.
It's time to send it.
Yeah, no, I had Aldas's videos coming up on my YouTube feed. And in the end, I was just like, don't send me any more of these. It's just Lewis Hamilton propaganda crap. He has one good moment in a lifetime.
So here's the Sky Sports of YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. So, I think Daniel Ricciardo going to Red Bull as their reserve driver. I think that's just Helmut Marko sitting there playing his fucking games.
Well, hopefully Sergio responds. Because now he's got, a season under his belt.
Yeah, he'll respond, but he'll either respond with... He'll overdrive and crash into Max.
I don't think he has to.
No. He won't. Sergio will just do what he's been doing.
Sergio doesn't have to overdrive.
Yeah.
He's done plenty well this year.
He's never overdriven it.
He was 2 laps away from finishing second in the championship this year. I don't think he's, and...
Do you think Do you think that makes Helmut Marko happy though?
No, Helmut Marko won't like that he's so far behind Max Verstappen. That's what he won't like.
That's right.
And he'll see Daniel Ricciardo as being able to breach that gap. Because he's not looking at it at a team's perspective in terms of, look, Sergio does a job for us that we need while we let Max Verstappen win it by, however much. And Sergio does his role as collecting the points. And look, we're world champions as a team. Helmut Marko just looks and goes, well, you came third. Charles Leclerc beat you. You didn't win. Like, you're not Max Verstappen.
You're not fighting Max Verstappen for the championship.
Yeah, you're not good enough, Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost the opposite of Mercedes. Mercedes were like, we just want Lewis Hamilton to win and you're the tail gunner. Helmut Marko wants those 2 cars to be the only 2 cars fighting for the championship.
Yeah, while Red Bull want what Mercedes had. They want the Mercedes package of, your Bottas,
that's
Hamilton.
what Christian Horner wants.
Yeah.
But Helmut Marko just has to be a clown.
Yeah.
Right, and the final news
on the
item.
next season of Drive to Survive.
Meanwhile, in the Wraith...
Phil talks about Aldas.
God.
The rift between Aldas and the F1 chat grows.
Damn
you! Rosebud!
Yeah, the rift between Aldas and Phil. It's very dramatic. Cannot wait to bring it to you next year on the Drive to Survive. Will Buxton's very excited about this.
If there's a rivalry between true drivers, that's because 2 drivers don't like each other.
It's 2 YouTubers, though.
Yeah.
I'm trying to sound like Will Buxton.
If there's a rivalry between 2 YouTubers, you have to get them to click this like and subscribe button to win the war.
You have to put them in a boxing ring.
Subscribe box. Subscribe to their Patreon.
You have to let them fight. Fight like Logan Paul.
You reckon we could grow a big enough event, F1 chat versus Aldos in a boxing ring?
Yeah, we'll be on the Jake Paul undercard.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Phil versus
Phil
Aldos.
versus Aldos.
Yeah, it'd be over,
Boxing
it'd
fight.
be over faster than the last Liam Parrow fight. Right, so the next news item is that was the last race of Sebastian Vettel. 4 times world champion, 53 race wins, and multi-21.
1 times multi 21. 4 times championships, 51 times race wins, 1 times multi 21.
And one entire season of pissing off Mark Webber.
Fucking 4.
4 seasons of that.
Serious?
Yeah, but it was his last season where he tipped him over the edge. But, you know, like, you look at Sebastian Vettel's career. Like, he gave Toro Rosso their first win.
Mm-hmm.
He won Red Bull's first 4 championships.
Mm-hmm.
He debuted driving for BMW, which was Sauber.
Which is a brilliant car.
Yeah, because he filled in for Robert Kubica.
Yes.
And he came very close to winning the championship more than once in a Ferrari.
Mm-hmm.
Back when they had a team principal who didn't look like a stupid Harry Potter knockoff.
Didn't look like Where's Wally?
Did we go through the rumour of Matteo Binotto
No,
possibly being
actually, I
replaced by
complete-
Frederic Vasseur?
Yeah, well, we'll finish
And it's
this.
more than a rumour.
And then he finished his career at Aston Martin. But more importantly, in the last couple of years, he's become a really great brand ambassador for
Yeah, he's
Formula One.
really big on eco-friendly stuff.
And
Being a dad now, I guess that's
It
that's
changes
sort of
your
his,
perspective on all
his,
the
his
things.
main thing. He's just like, all right, it's not about me anymore. It's about the kids.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And our planet's sort of not going in a good direction.
And like he was always a great driver, despite him ignoring team orders with the multi-21 and everything.
He had the talent for those, like,
And
to be what he was. He had the talent. As much as we all still hated the whole multi-21 thing, and for a long time everyone hated Sebastian Vettel, especially if you're from Australia.
Yes.
It's astonishing, to be honest. He's turned it around and we all love him now. Like,
once he
pretty
got out
great.
of Red Bull and went
Yeah.
to, say, Ferrari,
mm.
he showed a lot more of his actual personality.
And he calmed down a little bit. He was
Yeah.
such a hothead when he was...
Oh,
when he was
except
younger,
at
you know?
Baku when he bashed wheels with Lewis
Yeah,
Hamilton.
that was
but-
great, though. That's still so funny
But-
to me.
But like even he and Mark Webber actually get along now. I did see that.
Him and Mark were doing interviews at Abu Dhabi. Mark Webber's a Sky Channel 4 correspondent.
Yeah,
And they were sitting there talking, hugging, everything.
yeah.
And Lewis Hamilton even said about that incident in Baku. It's like, we became better friends after that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, Seb's not here to stuff around.
Seb's always had a really great personality though. Like he's a funny guy.
Once he was out of the robotic
Yeah.
Red Bull system,
Yeah.
he became better. He became
And-
Once he
funnier.
calmed down a bit, he did. He
and
showed it, yeah.
he's the only driver I've ever seen who could name all the world champions
Yeah, it's pretty impressive,
All
isn't
the
it?
way
in
back.
order.
Yep.
Yeah, that was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Every champion back to 1950.
Always remember that video where they had all the drivers counting all the world champions. And, like, Kimi didn't want to do it. Kimi Räikkönen didn't want to do
Kimi
it.
could
So
probably only remember 2007, me.
Yeah.
That's probably all he could remember.
he got to 2007 and he said, me. And then he thought it was over. And they're like, who was 2006? And he goes,
If I get it wrong, can I go?
Yeah.
So he got it wrong and he left. He just
he
walked
said
off.
me. He left. And then, like, they had Mick Schumacher. And they get to 2004, he goes, Dad. Everyone else is like, Michael. And he's like, Dad.
Yeah.
Dad,
Yeah, that
Dad,
was-
Dad,
For
Dad.
me, that was really cool. Yeah, Dad. 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 Gets a 95, Dad. 94, Dad. You know?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You tell the amount of pride you get saying that, though.
Yeah. But, no, we're going to miss Vettel on the grid.
Yes,
You know.
we will.
Yeah, he's been a good talent for a long time. It's crazy that Fernando Alonso has out-careered Sebastian Vettel. He had no right to.
Well, Vettel knew when it was time to hang it up.
Yeah.
And to be honest, Vettel could probably go on a few more years and he would still have the talent.
Yeah.
Which I guess Alonso still does, but He's
I think-
overseen his time, in my
I think
opinion. Still.
Vettel realised that he was on the part of his career where he's on the downward spiral.
I think
He's driving well, but he's ending up at Aston Martin.
Yeah, I think he's realised he's like, I'm not going to be fighting for world championships in my career anymore. I've got 3 kids at home. I've dedicated all my life to Formula One. I've got this outside passion of, you can tell he's had a, realisation in his head about the whole eco-friendly thing, and it's been playing on him because he's big on eco-friendly while also driving in a sport that is, very detrimental, I suppose you could say, to the planet in a sense.
Yeah,
and I think
but
he's been toying with that.
towards that though.
Yeah, that's right. And I think, he was probably battling with, I can't do both. Like, I can't be... He's almost probably realising himself, I'm a bit of a hypocrite if I want to push this eco stuff while also driving a Formula 1 car.
Yeah.
Even though, like, to the normal person, like, I understand what he's doing. He's not a hypocrite, but the argument to anyone against that would just be like, you've got no credibility in the eco-friendly game because you drive an F1 car, so it's...
But the flip side of the coin is when they do go with the full-blown biofuel, he is the perfect ambassador for F1.
That's what I see him becoming, is some kind of ambassador for Formula 1 as they pushed for a more eco Formula 1. I can see him being the spokesperson and the main force behind that. That would push his passion and keep him in Formula 1, and he'd be an asset to Formula 1 in that capacity.
Yeah.
In any capacity, to be honest. So,
but I think he saw that the downward spiral was coming and that he was taking the seat that someone else, some young driver could have. Like, he was really fighting for Mick Schumacher to replace him at Aston Martin.
he did say that in one of his interviews. He said, he realised, like, I'm taking up a seat for another young fella to come through. Like, it's time for me. I've had my time. I've done everything. I'm happy. It's time to move on and let someone else have a go, And also, like I said, he's got 3 kids. And once you have kids, they're only little for so long, and being in Formula 1 would take up so much of his time.
Yeah.
He would miss a lot of that.
And
he probably just wants to enjoy being with his family because he hasn't been for so long.
And in terms of championships, he is the 4th ranked world champion because you've got Lewis Hamilton, who statistically is number 1 with 7 world titles. Then you've got the Michael, who is the actual greatest of all time. Then you've got Fangio with 5, and then Seb with 4, and Prost, who's got 4.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get to Niki Lauda has got 3, and Senna had 3.
Yeah, so he's got 3.
So
He's still the youngest ever driver to have 4 world championships by 2026. Most world championships before 26.
yeah,
Unless Verstappen.
We'll
beats
see
it,
how the
which-
next 2 years go.
By the next 2 years, Verstappen will probably equal that, but yeah.
wouldn't it be ironic if he does equal that? They both got him in Red Bulls.
Yeah. A dominant period of Red Bulls, yeah.
But thank you, Seb.
Yep. Danke, Seb.
Danke, Seb.
And the final news story, which I completely forgot all about until JB reminded me, is that Maurizio Rivabene is not with the team anymore.
Maurizio Rivabene would be way better than
Matteo Binotto. People are questioning Matteo Binotto being team principal at Ferrari.
Yes.
That he may be getting dumped for Frederick Vasseur, who's the current team principal at Alfa Romeo Sauber.
Yeah, it's a strong rumour too.
Well,
I think enough's enough. I mean, you had.
I don't think.
The problem is Binotto the problem?
I don't think Binotto is the problem, but I think Binotto. Okay, I got to try and word this. Matteo Binotto is not the total problem, but Matteo Binotto won't get rid of the problem.
Yeah, it's his job to fix the problem. He's not the issue, it's things in his team, but it's his job to fix those things in the team, and I don't think he's the man to fix them.
It's the strategy department.
Yeah.
And he won't fire the strategy department and bring some new people.
Yeah,
in.
he hasn't done anything about it, and it's cost them a lot this year.
Yeah. I don't think Binotto should be team principal.
I think
he should be demoted.
I think he should be in a technical directives kind of role for Ferrari.
Yeah.
Something where he can use his engineering, and I think his brain, I mean, if you're an engineer, your brain probably works in a different way to most people. So I don't think he's got the man management team principal skills of a Christian Horner or a Toto Wolff or
Maurizio Rivabanno.
Yeah, no, one of those people. I think he's got one of those brains that thinks, very more intelligent than I could ever think. But maybe doesn't see, what we're seeing with the strategy as he needs to fix that. That's a problem.
Well,
and
the
stuff
one
like
thing that I do know is absolutely concrete. Ferrari CEO John Elkann said that he wants a championship at Ferrari by the end of 2025 when the new engine regs come in, or Binotto is gone. I know that for a fact.
Well, he'll definitely be gone by 25 if they don't win one. Definitely.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think he needs to be demoted. Not out of Ferrari, just down and across a bit.
Send him over to Haas.
I think he just needs to go on a different role.
Haas can splutter for a minute. Haas needs to, feel the brunt of their dumb decisions and their impatience. Their impatience. Oh, we built a half-assed car. Why are we only getting half-assed results?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't know, Gene. Must be the new kid.
In Mick Schumacher's rookie year, if you think about it, because, don't count his first year. That what a load of crap that year was. You know what I mean? They weren't even racing real cars. This is really Mick's first year.
Yeah.
And he's done fine, and they want to throw him under the bus like they have. It's like...
Well, I love what Ralph Schumacher said. The reason why Mick Schumacher has been dumped from Haas is because Mick Schumacher is a more recognisable name than Gunther Steiner. And Gunther Steiner couldn't handle it.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Oh,
yeah, now you've got Kevin Magnussen and Nico Hülkenberg, so there you go.
Yeah, they've got the two dull drivers in the grid. Of course we're going to know Gunther Steiner.
Yeah, Gunther Steiner's going to be the face of Haas.
Yep.
But, yeah. I don't think they should, fire Matteo Binotto.
No, he's not going to get fired. He just needs to be demoted.
He just needs to be sideswapped to another
He
role.
needs to stay in his own lane. That's what he needs to do.
Technical field. He needs to be in the technical
He needs to be in the technical area.
Yeah, just do
and
do
have
something.
someone who can actually talk to the drivers. Because apparently the rumours are that communication between him and Charles Leclerc have completely broken down.
That's not good.
But and further discussion on this will be in 2 weeks, because we can really go in depth with our thoughts on that. Right, so moving along, it's time for the final drivers' standings. So in first place, our world champion with gold numbers is Max Verstappen.
You still haven't seen it.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Not yet.
Securing second place in the championship was Charles Leclerc on 308 points. Sergio Perez came third on 305. George Russell came fourth with 275. It's amazing how George Russell, in his first season at Mercedes, has outdone 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton.
And he got their only win.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm sort of not surprised, to be honest.
Eh?
No.
No, always knew George was
I do
good.
think that Hamilton is on that downward spiral. What?
I don't think...
Vettel still had the drivability, but I think Hamilton's starting to lose a step or two.
I don't think so. I think Hamilton's still up there. I just think George Russell's been better, slightly better than him.
George Russell adapted to the W13.
He was more
better.
consistent than Hamilton
Faster.
and deserved to be where he is. But I wouldn't say Hamilton's out of it. I would just say that Mercedes haven't been up there like they always have. Been used to a 30-second advantage car.
Yeah, next year we'll say a lot about Lewis Hamilton, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
In fifth place was Carlos Sainz on 246 points. Lewis Hamilton was seventh? Sixth? Yeah, I can't read. Lewis Hamilton is sixth with 240 points. Seventh was Lando Norris in the McLaren on 122 points. Eighth was Esteban Ocon on 92 points. Ninth is that rolling roadblock of complaining known as Fernando Alonso on 81 points. And coming in 10th was Valtteri Bottas with 49 points.
Good on Valtteri Bottas. He's been 10th the entire year.
Yeah, I was going to
He's
say...
just clung there. It's like he's not doing anything spectacular.
He hasn't scored points for like how long? And
He's just like sitting there.
I think he got his first points in like 8 races last week.
Yeah,
Is that right?
and he hasn't been out of the top 10.
No.
He's just been in 10th for ages.
Yeah, no one's come even close to him.
Lando Norris, man, that just shows how much Daniel Ricciardo dragged the chain. Lando Norris outscored both Alpine drivers, but we still lost to them in the championship.
Yeah, but you were still in the fight up until the end. Probably because of Lando Norris where he was, yeah.
Well, Daniel Ricciardo came 11th with 37 points. Sebastian Vettel also tied with him on 37 points. Kevin Magnussen was 13th with 25 points. Pierre Gasly was 14th with 23 points. Lance Stroll was 15th with 18 points. Mick Schumacher finished 16th with 12 points, as did Yuki Tsunoda. Then in 18th was my Lithbeth kicked in. 18th was Zhou Guan Yu with 6 points. 19th was Alexander Albon with 4 points, and then tied for 20th was Nick de Vries and Nicholas Latifi with 2 points each. And then coming last is the new driver at Haas, Nico Hulkenberg with Zoot. And then for the last time this year, it is the 2022 team standings. The 2022 Constructors Champions Red Bull Racing Honda. Wait, they don't have Honda. It's Honda, though.
It's Honda in bracket.
Yeah.
HRC.
With 759 points, Ferrari have secured second in the Constructors with 554. Mercedes came third with 515. Alpine secured fourth with 173. McLaren came fifth with 159. Alfa Romeo has tied for sixth with Aston Martin on 55 points. Haas finished eighth with 37 points. AlphaTauri came ninth with 35 points. And Williams came last with 8.
So how do we determine the grid boxes next year for Alfa Romeo and Aston Martin?
Alfa Romeo got ahead because...
Alphabetical order.
No, because their highest points finish was higher than Aston Martin's.
Oh, right.
Like in terms of...
Someone finished higher.
Yeah.
One
right.
race compared to any of their drives. Yep.
So, that's the team and driver standings for 2022. Now, if you wish to view this episode and the upcoming bonus episode and the end of season episode, you can watch us on YouTube on the F1 Chat care of Vindicator 18 channel. You can interact with us on Facebook care of the F1 Chat. We are on the Twitter with the F1 Chat 1.
Don't forget the one.
Don't forget the one. You can also watch this video on Rumble, on the F1 Chat, and we're on the Spotify with the F1 Chat. So in 2 weeks' time, unless other people have something else on and sit there and go, can we push it back a week? In 2 weeks' time...
Can we push it back a week?
No. Do as you're told, you pompous motherfucker.
Okay.
In 2 weeks' time, we're going to be doing the end of season episode, our end of season wrap up, where we go through the teams, the drivers, our favourite races, our hated races, and everything else that I wrote down before we got to doing this episode, as well as our favourite moments during the podcast.
Yeah. It's been a pretty good year.
Yeah. So that'll be something worth tuning in for. Hopefully it won't go for 3 hours like last year's one.
Or maybe it will.
Oh, I hope
You'll never
not.
know.
I've got to sit there and edit the photos into it.
Sounds like a you problem.
Next year it's a you problem. You can do it. Right. Anyway, thank you for tuning in this week. We hope you have enjoyed the race reviews this year. And we hope that you join in for the end of season episode. On behalf of Longhorn, JB, and myself, it is goodbye.